Hello guys! Today we're going to be working on our ELA packets on pages 24, 25, 26, and 27. This article is about the Irish potato famine. Just like yesterday, you're going to read this and answer the questions on your own, but I'm going to read you a different article to help you understand the subject a little bit more before you read. Let's begin. The worst famine to occur in Europe in the 19th century was the Irish potato famine, which resulted in the deaths of about 1 million people. The famine is also called the Great Potato Famine or the Great Irish Famine. The potato was the staple food of Ireland at the time, with most of the population relying on it for much of their diet. Poor people who lived in a rural area tended to eat potatoes almost exclusively. That means that potatoes were the only things they ate. From 1845 to 1849, a plant disease caused the potato crops in Ireland to fail, year after year. Without potatoes to eat, the people went hungry. The crop failures were caused by late blight, a disease that destroys both the leaves and the edible roots, or tubers, of the potato plant. The disease is caused by the mold Phytophthora infestans. In 1845, this mold arrived in Ireland accidentally from North America. That same year, Ireland had unusually cool, moist weather, in which the blight thrived. Much of that year's potato crop rotted in the fields. This partial crop failure was followed by a more devastating failure in 1846 to 49, as each year's potato crop was almost completely ruined by the blight. At the time, Ireland was ruled by Great Britain, and the British government's efforts to relieve the famine were inadequate. British Prime Minister Sir Robert Peel did what he could to provide help in 1845 and early 1846. In June 1846, however, Lord John Russell assumed power, insisting on the importance of total free trade. He thought the government should interfere as little as possible in the economy. The emphasis thus shifted to relying on Irish rather than British resources to help the Irish. Much of the financial burden of providing for the starving Irish peasants was thrown upon the Irish landowners. However, many of the peasants had relied on farming the potato crops for their incomes, and they could no longer pay their rents to their landlords. The landowners soon ran out of funds with which to help the hungry, and many of them evicted the peasants. British assistance was limited to making loans and, for a short time, to helping to fund soup kitchens and providing jobs on road building and other public works. Cornmeal imported from the United States helped avert some starvation, but eating mostly cornmeal led to malnutrition. Throughout the famine, many Irish farms continued to export grain, meat, and other high-quality foods to Britain because the Irish peasants lacked the money to purchase them. The government's grudging and ineffective measures to combat the famine intensified the resentment of British rule among the Irish people. The Irish potato famine caused extreme suffering. Many of the Irish died of starvation. Others, having been weakened by malnutrition and hunger, died of disease. In all, 1 million people, nearly an eighth of the population, died as a result of the famine. Those who survived the famine lived with awful memories. Many never fully recovered from the shock and illnesses that they had suffered. Ireland's population dropped further because large numbers of people emigrated or moved away from Ireland to escape starvation. Perhaps as many as 2 million people left Ireland during the famine years, never to return. Most of them moved to the United States, Canada, England, or Australia. As a direct consequence of the famine, Ireland's population fell from almost 8.4 million in 1844 to 6.6 million by 1851. The population continued to decline in the following decades because of overseas emigration and lower birth rates. By the time Ireland achieved independence in 1921, its population was barely half of what it had been in the early 1840s. Now that I've read that, it's time for you to read this one on your own. Make sure that when you're reading, you're underlining important information to help you answer the questions later.